Hello G-Team. Today we're going to take a closer look at our standards elaborations and how we apply those standards to make judgments about our student work in order to assign them with a level of achievement. So first of all, just to remind you that in geography now, underneath the new Australian curriculum, we assess two dimensions or two strands. One is understanding and the other is skills. And both of these dimensions underpin all of the valued features that we are using to assess our students. This is an example of one of our standards elaborations sheets, and it comes from the Year 10 short response test. Like I said, it's just an example, so it doesn't make any difference whether you teach in Year 8, 9 or 10. It's purely just to show you the features of this form. So down the left-hand side, we have our 4 valued features which assess our dimensions of understanding and skills. So our first feature is knowledge and understanding. We have questioning and researching, interpreting and analysing, and finally communicating. Along the top of the form we have the range from A to E that we use in order to make a judgment about how well the student's work has met the standard. And then in each column, A through to E, and for each valued feature, 1 through to 4, we have descriptors of discernible differences that describe or allow us to match the student work at the various levels. So for today, this is where we are going to focus our attention. How do we interpret these differences so that we have a shared understanding and so that we can be consistent in judging how well our students are meeting these standards. So the first feature I want to focus on is knowledge and understanding. Okay, I want to draw your attention first of all to the fact that knowledge and understanding are our foundation thinking skills, and that is at the lowest level really of our thinking skills framework. So I've highlighted here the key differences between the standards. So at an A level, the student would be showing a comprehensive explanation of knowledge and understanding. At a B, it would be effective. A C is merely an explanation. D would be a description of knowledge. And E is a partial description of knowledge. So how do we interpret these differences? I want to start in the middle at the C range. Now, if a student has provided an explanation and you're satisfied it is an explanation, that means that they have actually gone beyond just making a statement. They've tried to make some attempt to provide more information that demonstrates that they understand. Okay, a little bit more depth. Moving on from there, effective means that they've capably met the requirements. So whatever the requirement of the task was, in this criterion it has been very capably met. And at the A standard, it is detailed and thorough and comprehensive and has included every aspect of the response that is relevant. So down at our D end, we move now away from explanations and into simple descriptions. So to give a description is simply to give an account or to describe. Okay, there's nothing additional. There has been no attempt there, or very little attempt, to try and extend that further and really explain aspects of that student's response. And down at the E level, our partial description shows that the student has attempted but has provided incomplete evidence that they have met the knowledge and understanding criteria. Moving on to questioning and researching, you'll see this time the difference is not seen along the top. Along the top, the standard starts in the same way. It's framing. The framing really refers to the process. Okay, so framing is a structure that underlines the geographical inquiry. So it's really the process that needs to be applied. Where we find the difference this time is in our more discrete descriptors. Okay, so I've just highlighted the bottom one here in red. You need to look more closely at these descriptors, and you'll see that as we descend, although it looks like going from A to E, it's an upward motion, but we're actually descending in standards, the descriptor becomes less sophisticated. So you need to keep an eye on that for this valued feature. Our interpreting and analysing is a little bit of a combination of both here. You see that from A to C we have analysis, and then from D to E we turn to an examination. So the good thing about this, we're moving now into higher order thinking skills, where students have an opportunity to analyse, evaluate, design a solution to a problem. So for a student to be analysing, they need to consider in detail relationships, patterns, similarities, differences, and providing evidence of that analysis. In the examination sector, in the D and E range, they've been able to determine what's going on, providing little evidence, and in comparison to your A to C, it's a quite unsophisticated attempt. Okay, and to help you along with this, you'll see that also our more detailed descriptions also become less sophisticated as they move through the range from A to E. Our final feature is communicating. So in communicating, again, you can see there is a clear difference here from A to E, from clear and purposeful down to fragmented. Okay, now let's start in the C range. So if a student presents, has managed to write something or draw something, and it's been presented using, some of the features of that communication you would expect, then they've merely shared what they know or have exchanged it with you in some way. To meet the B requirement, they're clearly more capable. Okay, they've been able to integrate more of the expected response and features of communication. And the A student has been perfectly clear, very, very explicit, and shows quite a high level of flair and sophistication in their response. Down to the D, limited, a narrow presentation is limited in the range of communication techniques they've used that you would have expected. And down in the E range, it's disjointed, incomplete. Sometimes, the communication they've used has detracted from the meaning of what they're trying to communicate. So, putting all that together then, to make a judgment about our students' work. In the knowledge and understanding features of this Year 9 skills test, the student has demonstrated at a C level for the first two sub-criterion and at a D level for the third. Overall, on balance, it's a C minus. Here, questioning and researching is not assessed in this task, and therefore you need to do nothing with that in this task. Interpreting and analysing, the student has demonstrated at a C standard for one of these sub-criterion and at a B standard for another. Now, in the case of this, where there are only two choices, I tend to err on the side of caution, and I would go for a C plus rather than a B minus. But if in the scheme of things in your classroom, you're going to have a greater range of difference, like you could have two or more students with an identical result, a B here and a C here, but you can obviously determine that one student is a bit better than the other. In that case, you would use your judgment and call one a B minus and another a C plus. Skipped ahead then. Here it's obvious, two B's and it's a B. Now, just to remind you, our ticks, as far as discerning pluses and minuses, go across the range of standards, not within, okay? So to get a C plus for knowledge and understanding, this student would have had to have demonstrated one of these features up in the B range. Looking down at communicating, to get a B plus in communicating, this student would have had to have demonstrated one of these features up in the A range. Okay, so just remember that from now on. That's very, very important. I just want to end off with a little comment about student diversity. I know we all use this in our practice, and it's really an unwritten rule, I suppose, but I just want to stress that we do need to assess students with multiple needs and changing needs, considering their personal and socio-economic cultural factors. So, students with specific educational needs, we all have these students in our classrooms, okay? They're people who are disadvantaged for all sorts of reasons that fall outside of the diagnosed medical condition, okay? So to demonstrate that, this point here, students who have difficulties but don't appear to be directly arising from impairment or poor literacy skills. There's some other thing going on. Like I said, we all have these students. If we can be aware of them and continue to be aware of them before we get to the assessment stage, we can better cater for their needs, and we can better consider how to assess them. And then of course we move on to special education needs, and just really to say that we are in this department committed to equity in education, and that we do, as you know, work with our learning support head of department and staff in order to design inclusive learning and assessment programs. So I just want to finish off by saying that if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know as soon as they arise. You can email me, you can phone me, you can text me, or if we happen to be at the same place at the same time, we can have a conversation about it. So I hope this has helped you, and I look forward to seeing how you go with all this.